Today you're going to try and make your face look more lifelike and start to really choose and look carefully at the emotion that an expression that you want on your face mug. So I chose terror. So I made sure every step to look back at this picture to make sure that I was trying my best to accurately depict how the eyebrows looked, how the eyes looked, how the mouth looked as I was going. So if you look at both, I try to leave this side alone so you could compare the two sides of the face. So the first thing that I'd start with is the eyebrows because it tends to be the easiest. The eyebrows and the eyes relate to each other. So if you were doing angry, those eyebrows are right next to the eye. If you're doing shocked, the eyebrows are super high up and the eyes are super wide. And exaggerating those things will make it easier for your viewer to understand what emotion you chose. So for terror, mine has this little flick upwards. So I tried to curve my eyebrow in order to make it look like that on my mug. Before I attached it, I did this I curved my eyebrow exactly how it looked in this picture, and then I scored and slipped it onto here. So I'd start there, and then you can move on to the eye. We talked about the eye last week. I'll show you guys how to use the sphere, cut that in half, and then you'll have one for each side, and then the coils in order to put this on top. You're going to want to score and slip those things on and then blend the top of the eyelid into the back and then add a piece of muscle and fat here so that it looks a little bit more normal and more lifelike. And then you're going to smooth the eyelids into the cheeks, and then you can use the pin tool to draw whatever the pupil and iris look like. So that's also going to tell you about the emotion. So if you look at fear, the iris and the pupil are close to the bottom. If you looked at shocked, they're like in the middle because the eyes are so wide open. For happy, it's like more normal, but they're a little bit like relaxed and then a little bit more narrow because your cheek is pushing against your eye. So make sure you keep looking back to this as you go. You might need to add more clay on the cheek, or maybe connecting the nose into the cheek so that it looks a little bit more normal on this side. For the nose, you pretty much have it set once it's on here, but you're going to need to use one of these skewers to add your nostrils in. So you can just use the back end, push it up in here, then round out the edges. I carved some clay away here in order to make it look a little bit more round. And then for the mouth, you had the clay already on here. So now you have to look and see if your mouth is open or closed, depending on the emotion. And you don't need to take it off. You just kind of push and pull it apart. So since terror had this weird shaped mouth, that's partially why I chose it. I thought it was like a little bit interesting to do something was open instead of closed. I didn't cut into the clay. I just pushed the lips up and then pushed these lips down and then used the back end of the skewer to kind of round out where the teeth would go and push back here and push back here. You might need to add like a little clay here and then redraw this line back in. You might need to add a little bit of clay here. So if you can see, the cheekbone's super exaggerated here and there's nothing here. So that the last step would be to fill in places that you think kind of look weird, and that's probably because there should be some tissue or fat or something that goes in that spot. So the goal today is to try, if you haven't finished the structure of the face, I would just jump right into this step and use the coil and the clay and kind of push and pull it in order to start to make the features look more lifelike. each person's is going to be completely different. So you really have to keep going back to these pictures. Whatever picture you chose, you have to go, and whatever step you're on, whether it's the eyebrows, the nose, the eyes, you have to keep going back to this picture and really look and compare it to each other so that it looks as close as it can to the emotion as possible.